We're live. Hi, everybody. We'll wait a second for people to get on. But I'm always so grateful when people on the West Coast are willing to get up to do this. So, Areva, thank you so much. Bright and early, and even earlier, because really this time change. Are you feeling it, the time change?
Yeah, but I love it. I love that it's still light at 7 o'clock at night. So I love this part of the year.
Oh, good. So you're willing to suffer the hour loss of sleep in order to get the extra day, the extra daylight.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, so I am here with Areva Martin. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Areva is an award-winning attorney. The list is so long that I can't capture all of it right now, but an award-winning attorney, a best-selling author, legal commentator, talk show host, television producer, and also our nation's leading voice for autism awareness and disability rights advocacy. So that is a lot of stuff on your plate right now, and you seem to be rocking it with all of it. So we are grateful to have you here with us. And we're going to get right to the point, which is you are the mom of 3.
Yes.
You have 2 daughters who were neurotypical. And then you had a 3rd child who, at what age did you start noticing that something was different?
Well, my 3rd child, his name is Marty, probably around 18 months, I started noticing that he wasn't developing in the same way that his sisters had developed. His language wasn't developing. He wasn't speaking in complete sentences. And a lot of the words that he used weren't easily understandable or recognizable by us. There were things that he did that were just different, like playing by himself in corners and not responding to his name. So there were just a laundry list of things. But as you know, as a mother, you like to give your child their ability to be, their individual selves and not compare them necessarily to your other kids. So I think I was allowing Marty to be Marty and, not attributing what I saw as developmental delays as something that would later lead to a diagnosis of autism.
Is there any part of you that feels like regret that you didn't jump on earlier, or that's just the way it goes?
No, I don't really have any feelings of regret because even though I didn't jump on it right away, I did track it. I watched it. I did talk to people. I talked to other parents. I started talking to experts. And I feel like I got his diagnosis. He was just slightly over 2 years old. I feel like I got it, during that early intervention time period, that critical time period where they say getting not only the diagnosis, but starting to get services can really change the outcome of a person's life who has been diagnosed with autism. So no regrets about that. Parents, we don't get handbooks, we don't get manuals. We have to go with our instincts. And at the time that Marty was diagnosed, there wasn't a ton of information available, particularly in African American communities. I didn't know other families who had kids that had been diagnosed. I couldn't turn to my trusted sources that were helpful to me as I thought about schools and programs for my other 2 kids, my older daughters. So I think parents, we have to do the best we can and, not kick ourselves for those things that we didn't know because, when I knew better, I did better. So, I don't want any parent out there feeling guilty about something that they didn't know a whole lot about.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I want to fast forward to the fact that you are very, very outspoken today and a tremendous advocate. But when you first found out, did you jump on board with that right away, or was there a transition?
No, I was like so many other parents. I was really devastated by my son's diagnosis. Again, like I said, I noticed things about his development that were different, but I didn't, put a label on it. And I didn't think that there was going to be some lifelong diagnosis for which there is no cure, no known cure. So the diagnosis caught me totally off guard. I was really, really devastated by it. I had more questions than there were answers. Like I said, I didn't have a community to turn to that could provide either comfort, support, or answers. My family, incredibly supportive. My pastor, incredibly supportive. But, my girlfriends, the other parents that I knew, the parents that I had met when I was involved in a lot of activities with my daughters. They just didn't have a lot of experience with it. So although they were supportive, so I want to correct that. It wasn't that they weren't supportive. They just didn't have a lot of information because they were unfamiliar with it in the same way that I was. I spent a lot of days not able to say the word autism. It would make me cry. It made me sad. I was depressed. I think now I can call it out for what it was. I think I went through a period of mild depression. So no, I was not advocate on day one. It took me many, many, many months before I was able to stand up to it and really say, okay, my son needs me in a different way. And although I have these feelings, he also has all of these needs. And as a mother, it was my job, my responsibility, my obligation to figure it out. So I had to go to the internet. I had to go to the bookstore. I bought tons of books. I studied as much as I could. I figured out who the experts were, people that I had never met, professions that I didn't even know existed. I had to figure all of that out. And it was through my own journey and search for solutions that I became an advocate, but it didn't start that way.
So that story gets repeated over and over again, right? Like we have to let go of something in order to embrace something else. And that period of letting go is grief and depression and sadness. But now you're out there full force, making sure that other people don't have to go through the same experience that you went through. So let's touch a little bit on some of the reactions that you got from people. So, I've been told by friends that everybody is there with suggestions for how to get rid of this problem, right?
Yeah, everybody becomes like an expert. Everybody's a developmental, pediatric doctor. Everybody's a developmental specialist. Everybody's a social worker. Every story that they saw on television, every story that they read in a magazine, I would get texts, I would get emails. Oh, did you see this story? This woman cured her son. Did you see this story? This woman is using this product. She's using this diet. She's using this doctor. Yeah, it becomes exhausting and quite frankly, a little annoying. And a lot of judgment tied into people, some well-intentioned, some not so well-intentioned, to be honest with you. But yeah, it can be overwhelming, the amount of information that is thrown at you and the amount of questions and the probing that's done. People really questioning your parenting, asking you, if you've tried this, if you've tried that, somehow, insinuating that because you haven't, that you're being less than diligent, you're being less than, effective in terms of how you're responding to your son's or daughter's diagnosis. So I empathize with parents who may be in that position now. And my advice to you is to tell people to mind their business. Check your sources. Don't feel like you have to rely on or even take information from, unreliable sources. There are a lot of unreliable sources that are out there. And feel completely within your right to set boundaries. At a time when you're going through something very difficult, the last thing you need are a bunch of, looky-loos, chiming in with unhelpful information. So I wish I knew then what I know now, which is it is okay to tell people thank you, but no thank you. I appreciate your concern, but I have this under control.
Part of the problem, I think, is that you're probably at your most vulnerable place, and people will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're working they think they are there to support you and be kind, but that kind of meshing of those two moments don't work.
Yeah, and people have to be respectful. I mean, just like if you experience a death or any other tragedy, as a friend, you reach out, you let the person know you're thinking of them, you're praying for them, you're there to help them. And you let it go. I mean, that's what adults do. You don't intrude, you don't pry, you don't become overbearing in your offer of help. And that's what we learn as adults. We allow people to go through their process, to go through their journey. We offer our support, and then we stand back and wait for people to tell us what they need from us. It is not our responsibility, and it's not helpful, to try to impose on people what you've heard on the internet, what you've read in a story. I can think of, if you think back at the time my son got his diagnosis, Jenny McCarthy was talking a lot about her son. And the media really, they did a lot of stories about her, and she went through this evolution where her son did have autism. She was finding cures for autism. Then he didn't have autism. And every time there was a story about Jenny and her son and what she had done, the whole world responded to it. And I'm sure I wasn't the only parent, but, I was one of the parents who would get this deluge of stories about what Jenny was doing. And the reality is autism is a spectrum disorder. So every child is different. So what may work for child A may have completely, no relevance to child B. And that's what parents will learn. So yes, thank you. Share a story, send me an email, but don't feel as if you are necessarily helping a parent. If you go beyond that, share the information and let that parent decide how or if at all that information is helpful to them. Because
So
in many instances, it's not.
probably even following up, saying like, hey, what did you think of that article? Puts a new burden on you to have to, like, you can't respond to everybody. You might not even be interested in it. And now that follow-up makes it an extra burden.
Absolutely. And, the key is community. The key is support and just learning how to be a supportive friend, how to be a supportive spouse, how to be a supportive relative. And what I have found in the years of doing this, both personally and professionally, is, that support, people just want to know that you're there. They just want to know that if they need a shoulder to cry on, you're there. If they need, you to watch their kid for 10 minutes or 30 minutes while they run to the store, you are there. What they don't need is a bunch of folks who aren't experts. This is a condition, just like if you were diagnosed with cancer. And that's what I would tell people. If you had a serious medical condition, not developmental, but physical condition like cancer or diabetes, you wouldn't have people, sending you information from the internet about cures. They would respect that this is something that requires experts, science, medical, personnel, trained physicians. And autism is the same way. There are people who have spent their lives studying, the neuroscience associated with autism. There are people who've spent their lives, in research labs. And if you believe in science, then you have to trust those scientists. So those, homemade remedies for autism are as harmful as a homemade remedy for cancer. And that's what people have to respect. This is a medical condition and it requires a medical response.
So we talk about this all the time, like the idea of asking somebody what they need, because there might be somebody out there who's drowning in information and appreciates someone vetting it. But would you have appreciated someone saying, do you like when I send you articles, or is that a burden?
No, I think it's fine. Find out.
No, I mean, is the question like, so as friends, how do we know what you need? We have to ask that. Is that okay?
Yes, I think that's appropriate. Ask your friends, how can I be helpful? I think that's the best question you can ask someone going through anything, whether it's an autism diagnosis, a death in the family, a loss of a job, whatever situation, someone finds themselves in. I think as a friend, the question is, how can I be helpful to you? And someone may say, hey, can you go on the internet and pull, some of the articles from X website, or, can you find articles on diets, or can you find articles on therapy? Somebody may need that kind of help. And I think that's perfectly, fine. And that's great that you can help your friend in that way. Someone else may say, I think I'm good for now. What I really would love for, is if occasionally, if I need to talk, if you would make yourself available. Someone else may say, I really could use some help with, getting some groceries occasionally, or getting some help finding a therapy service in my community. So people need help in different ways. And I think as a friend, you just want to figure out what that way is. Don't make a lot of assumptions before getting that information from your friend.
Make sure the help is helpful.
Yes, you want to make sure the help is helpful and not stressful.
Don't add stress. Good point.
Added, burden to the person, and recognize that at the early stages of a diagnosis, parents are overwhelmed with information. They're learning so much, and they do have to vet the information because there's a lot of misinformation that's disseminated through YouTube videos, through social media posts on Facebook and Instagram and Reddit, and just about every social media site you can think of. And you don't want to start feeding that bad information to someone who's already drowning in information. So I think that's where, and I ended up writing a book called The Everyday Advocate. And I wrote the book because I wanted to use my expertise as a lawyer, my expertise as a trained advocate to help people figure out what's reliable information and, quite frankly, what's BS and what needs to be completely ignored or discarded. And I wrote that book because I was overwhelmed. When I went to the internet and I would do a search on autism, there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of responses that I would get, and a lot of it, quite frankly, were just personal blogs where people had started blogging about their own experience. And although some of them were very interesting and some might have been helpful, they weren't blogs written by people who were experts in the field. So it was like me sharing my personal experience with Marty. Yeah, it's maybe, interesting to someone, but I surely am no expert in terms of, neuroscience. I'm a lawyer. I'm a legal expert. I can help you with special education issues. I can file a lawsuit and represent you in a disability discrimination lawsuit. I can do that with my eyes closed. But I can't give you medical advice, and I wouldn't want you accepting any medical advice from me because I'm not a doctor. So I think that's what people have to understand. Stay in your lane, figure out who is in their lane and take information from people who have expertise, lived experiences, knowledge that can be helpful to you.
Okay, this next question is totally in your lane. We all wonder, can we have it all? Can we be mom? Can we work? Can we build our careers the way we dreamt of doing it? And then you throw into that equation that you have a kid with special needs. Did it feel like there was a lot of judgment about the right way to do this?
Well, I'm going to answer both your questions. And the first question, too, can women have it all? Absolutely yes. Positively yes. Unequivocally yes. And the myth that we can, I think, is a part of what women are fed, a lie that women are often fed. And I have another book coming out in August, actually, about women in leadership and the lies that women are told. And that's one of the lies, is that somehow we, women, not men, but women have to make a choice between having a family and having a successful career. No one ever asked a man, can you have kids and become the CEO of a Fortune 500 company? It's assumed that they can have it all. So I don't know why, women, and we shouldn't buy into the myth that somehow we have to make a choice. We absolutely can raise a family, including a family that has a kid that's on the autism spectrum, a kid that may have other, mental health issues or developmental challenges. And we can be successful in whatever career we choose, whether it's the field of entertainment, the legal field, the medical field, if we want to be an astrophysicist or astronaut or whatever it is. And we can have kids. And I think it's important that women like myself who have a family, I've been married for, more than 20 years. I have 3 kids, one on the spectrum. I have started and run a successful law firm. I've started and run a very successful nonprofit. I've run a digital healthcare firm. I have a career in television, and I've had the opportunity, great fortune, lots of blessings. So, giving all honor to God. It's not because I'm so great or wonderful. It's because I've had tremendous blessings and I've had tremendous people in my life who helped me along the way. But I've never bought into this notion that somehow I had to choose one or the other.
Okay. And then how about other people feeling like you should have chosen one or the other?
Shut up and sit down and get out the way, because I'm sorry. Who are you? Who are you to decide what I should have done with my life in the first place? Yeah, you get a lot of judgment. And I remember early on when I started my journey as an advocate, a lot of professional women would reach out to me, psychologists and medical doctors and lawyers and, principals in schools or CEOs at companies, and say, I'm getting a lot of pressure. And most of it was from their own family members. Most of it was from their in-laws, from their spouses, from their sisters and their brothers, people inside their own family saying, well, shouldn't you quit your job? Isn't your child more important? Shouldn't you be at every IEP meeting? Shouldn't you be at every, medical appointment? And I would say to those women, you have invested years to get where you are in your career. Again, whether you're an actress or a singer or a lawyer or a doctor, whatever you are doing, you've had to invest time, energy. You've had to make sacrifices. Maybe you've had to take out, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, but whatever it is, you've made a big investment. And who, no one should be able to tell you to, just disregard that investment. And yes, there are obligations that come with being a parent, and yes, you should live up to those obligations. But you're not the only person in that child's life. In most kids' lives, there is a second person, whether it's a partner or a spouse or a grandparent or an uncle or an aunt or someone. Most families, there is a unit, and you should not be the only person doing things for that child, whether it's a typical child or a child that has autism. Enlist the help of those that are also a part of that family. And that's what I was able to do. And I didn't go to every IEP meeting. My husband went to some of them. I have families that I help. The mom goes to some. If there's not a dad in the household, maybe there's an aunt, maybe there's a grandparent. But there are other people that should be involved in your kid's life. And that will help you continue to pursue that career. And I can tell you that if mom is happy in her career, a happier mom makes a happier family. So, if mom can go to work all day and be fulfilled in that profession and come home, she's going to be, more excited, more happy, more enthusiastic, feel more empowered to be that great parent. So, parents, moms, whether you're a mom or a dad, you can raise a child with special needs and you can have a successful career. It can be done.
I think also we all know somebody who is better off going to work and someone else who prefers being home and has the choice, the fortune of choice. So, it's there.
I'm glad you said that. It's the fortune of choice, because that's another piece. A lot of women don't have the luxury of quitting their jobs. They are the sole breadwinners, or they are in a 2-income household, and that income is critically important because raising a child on the spectrum is incredibly expensive. So also, it's not necessarily as easy as quit your job. That income in many situations, in most situations, is needed for the support of that child and the family.
So you have 3 kids. One of them presumably takes more time with special needs. How do you navigate that so that the 2 girls feel like they're getting what they need?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you sit down and you have a communication about what that child with special needs, the role that they play in that family, and the critical role that they play. And then the thing we did with our 2 girls is we taught our girls, look, if you were Marty, if you happen to be that child with special needs, how would you want this family to respond? What would you want our response to be? And that was the level set in the family. And if you ask that question of anyone, the answer is going to be, I would want this family to support me. I would want this family to do everything they could to help me. And once the girls understood that that's how they wanted to be treated, then it was very natural for us to say to them, well, then that's the way we're going to treat Marty. So, if you get sick in this family, if you get hit by a car and break your leg, do you want this family to rally around you and support you through your recovery? And if the answer to that is yes, which it was, and it always will be, then that's what we're going to do for Marty. And I think once families have that kind of conversation, a lot of those sibling issues that you hear about, I think you can easily discard those issues. You can work through those issues. And that's what we were able to do with our daughters, is to get everybody to understand you may not have a special need. And our daughters play tennis throughout their entire elementary school, high school years. One of my daughters had a knee injury. She had surgery. She was on crutches. So you may not have a developmental disability, but you're not likely to go through life unscathed. Something's going to happen to you. And how do you want the family to respond to you when that something happens? And that's the way you want to treat that special needs child. So yes, Marty may have more attention because he's in therapy, but it doesn't mean that we're not celebrating Morgan's achievements or Michael's achievements. And that's what a family is all about to me. So I think families need to talk through these issues. I think that's one of the biggest things that you can do to address any of those kinds of sibling rivalries that may pop up.
Also, I think it's a little bit like being on a team sport. Like the coach really knows that everybody brings something to that team and everyone has to feel valued. And that's kind of what you offered to your family. Like, we're all in this
together.
Yeah.
Yes. And Marty, my daughters adore Marty. And Marty, he's the guy that will go downstairs and get them something to drink while they're upstairs in their room. I mean, so they figured out that Marty can be very helpful to them. So Marty says, Marty, bring in my, groceries. So they love Marty. Marty is very much a part of their daily existence.
Okay, last question. Tell us about Butterfly Health. First of all, why two L's? And then what is it?
Butterfly is a digital therapeutic app. It's designed to address the huge unmet mental health needs that so many people have, particularly people in underserved and underrepresented communities. Working in the autism community, I saw how much my families, the parents, the caregivers, how much anguish, how much anxiety and depression they suffered from, and how oftentimes they weren't getting help because of stigma, because of the fragmented mental health system, because of the cost, because of the bureaucracy of even getting authorization for an appointment. So I wanted to help my families. I wanted to provide them with a solution of to address their unmet mental health needs. And Butterfly Help does that. It's an app on your phone. It's 24/7. It's private. It's secure. It's digitized. It allows you to meet with people in community forums, people who have similar issues. It allows you to participate in self-guided cognitive behavioral therapy and other exercises designed, clinically based exercises designed to help you alleviate anxiety, depression, and address mild to moderate mental health issues without ever having to step foot into a therapist's office, without ever having to wrangle with your insurance company about authorization for therapy. And two L's because I just wanted it to be unique, because I think it offers something unique to large portions of the population, primarily, like I said, underserved, underrepresented communities. And Butterfly, because it represents transformation. We know when people get help, they transform. And I wanted to do something to help my families and thousands and millions of families across the country who are dealing with anxiety and depression, to give them some place where they can get the help in a non-stigmatized fashion, and really connect with other people all over the globe and know that they are not alone.
And what's the feedback been?
Feedback has been amazing. It's an app that we sell directly to insurance companies and health systems. So it's not an app that you can go into the Apple store and download. You have to get it comes to your insurance carrier because they pay for it. We wanted it to be free to the end users. We didn't want you to have to go on and pay $59 a month, or pay some monthly subscription fee. So we actually sell it into insurance companies. They pay us, Butterfly Health, and then they offer it to their insureds at no cost. So over the next couple of years, it'll be disseminated and made available more widely through health plans throughout the country. So you'll be hearing a lot about it, and hopefully your health plan will make it available to you. Like I said, it's our goal to get it into the hands of millions and millions of Americans across this country, and to do so using those health plans and those large health systems like Kaiser and Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles. So we're on a mission to change how mental health is thought about in this country, and to make sure folks who've been left out of the mental health care system get the help that they need.
Well, Areva Martin, thank you for your time, and also thank you for really stepping forward and trying to change the world for so many people who will rely on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, for having me. Good to sit down and chat with you this morning.